Hi, folks. We'll start in 2 minutes. 2-minute warning. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy first 5-day week of the school year. I hope it was a great week for you and for your kids. And for those of you, I see a bunch of teachers on here as well, and I hope it was a good week for all of you. Much deserved couple-day break for our faculty and staff, and parents. The kids are yours for the next couple of days. We'll take them back on Monday. I don't have a lot of updates for today. I do have a few, but there won't be an email that goes out because there's nothing earth-shattering that needs to go out via email. So I figured I would give a chance for folks to ask questions like we did last week. And I will provide a couple of updates before I get to any of your questions. So first, just a reminder, today's the segment 3 deadline. So you might remember we changed it where only if you're making changes to your selection of in-person or remote do you need to fill out that form. But today is the deadline. We were going to close it at 4, but because I'm doing this update right now, we're going to close it in just a little bit. So if you need to make any changes for segment 3, now is just about your last chance to do that. Some protocol reminders. So as we've had a couple of weeks of school, we've had some issues with some students that have become ill, and that protocol has been brought front and center for some of our families as a result. So just to clarify, if your child has any of the symptoms of COVID-19, which frankly are just about every symptom there is, it seems like, if it's not related to a pre-existing medical condition that we have documentation of, like seasonal allergies or something like that, they have to stay home. And they have to stay home for 10 days, the last day of which has to be symptom-free, unless they get a COVID-19 test and we get those COVID-19 test results back and they're symptom-free for the 24 hours before they return. So our school nurses are always the final arbiter of that policy. I don't overrule them. When they make a determination about your child, that's it. And I'm going to support their determination. I am not a nurse. I'm not a medical expert. And so their decision making there is something that I have a lot of faith in, and I think you should too. So I know that's difficult. One of my children this week had the same issue. They had a couple of symptoms of COVID-19, so they had to stay home. We went and got the COVID-19 test. It took 2 days to get the results, and it was negative, and my kid can go back to school on Monday. So it is not a typical school year in that regard, and I know that, but we have to do that to keep us safe. With that said, we have no active cases of COVID-19 in our school system, 0. No staff, no students. There are 2 people that are quarantined, which means they had some exposure and they've been asked by DHHS to quarantine for 14 days, and that's happening, but we've got no active cases right now and hope to keep it that way. We have, just a reminder about being quarantined, there is no testing out of quarantine. So if you've been asked to quarantine, or if you've traveled out of state and have to quarantine as a result of that, a negative COVID-19 test doesn't help you there. In fact, our assistant superintendent was out of state seeing some family members, and she's had to work remotely for 2 weeks as a result of that, because it applies to all of us. So not easy, but it is the right thing to do. Let's see, what else? A reminder, in Mount Vernon Village School is having a lunch webinar on Monday regarding our lunch protocols at the Mount Vernon Village School. The time and the information about that was emailed to all families, and it's also on the Mount Vernon Village School Facebook page, so please see that. High school athletics have started. We had our first golf match yesterday. Later this evening, field hockey and volleyball will have their first match. But as you might expect, we have severe limitations on the number of people who can attend those events. And so every player is given 2 tickets. Never mind my son in the background who just chopped down a tree. That's great. Every player is able to provide 2 tickets for someone to come and attend, ideally family members. We know that's a restriction, and we want people to come see events, but we just can't have large crowds at those events. Children younger than 5, so siblings younger than 5, if they come with a parent, don't count in that 2-person limit. We just ask that the kids are not running around. They need to be seated with you as a parent and a family member. So please be mindful of that. Our first football game is next week, and other sports are taking place over the next couple of weeks. 2 more updates, and then I'll get to your questions. So we're still working on the high school. Many of you have reached out to me about concerns about high school and how students are having an experience where they're coming to school, but a good portion of their teachers, even a majority of their teachers in some cases, are home. We're still working on that, and just know that's an issue I'm hearing a lot about widely from you as community members and parents and even students. And it's something that we're addressing and working on, and hope to have some updates about very soon. And then my last update is I've been contacted by an alumni member at Souhegan High School. And her name is Sarah Hurd, and she sent me a petition with over 400 signatures of alumni, staff, and students who are asking us as an SAU to look at the issue of racial injustice and the lack of education about racial injustice in our schools. I've met with Sarah and had conversation with her about her petition and what she's looking for from us as a school system. And so this is kind of, I know this is like our first shift away from COVID related topics into other broader topics for our school year. And I think it's appropriate that we do that. If you might recall, our last significant issue that happened before the COVID-19 crisis was around FangFest. And there was an issue that week with some students, and we addressed that, and there was a racial component to that as well. And so we knew that was a topic that needed further discussion amongst our community. Well, several things have happened since then, and in our country, and that have brought the issue to bear. And so we are going to have this conversation as a school community. And I want the school community to know that as we go into these conversations, that my motivation behind that conversation is around making sure that all of our school community feels safe coming to school. That's a prerequisite for all of our staff and students. But further, that we're preparing students to enter the world in which we live. And part of that is having a understanding of difficult issues, of sensitive issues, of sometimes politically dangerous issues, we could even say. And that's part of my role as an educator, is to have those hard conversations with students and to prepare them for the world in which they live. What we're not going to do is we're not going to subscribe to the politically motivated theater that comes along with some of these issues. A good parallel that Sarah brought up for me in our conversation, which I really appreciated, was after Columbine several years ago, Sauhegan, as I'm told, I wasn't there, but Sauhegan had a conversation after Columbine. And the issue is not around gun control or gun rights. It was about bullying and the impact that bullying can have in schools and the impact on students and how people feel safe coming to school. And I think there's a good parallel with that, with what Sarah and her fellow alumni are asking us to look at. So I bring this up to you as a school community because I want you to know that I think it's a conversation that we need to have and that we ought to have. It is a sensitive topic, to be sure, and we're going to have the conversation honestly and candidly with one another for the purpose of growing our understanding of one another and helping to prepare our students into the world in which they live. And so I just want you to be aware of that. So those are all of my updates. I see 50 or so of you online here. There are another 51 of you online on Facebook. And there's only a couple of questions. So I'm going to answer these questions and then see what we can do about getting us on to our weekend. So first, a parent is concerned about inconsistencies on policy at the high school. Last week, my daughter was kept from leaving the building after her classes had ended, was made to stay in a hot room with a mask on when she should have been allowed to leave outside. So I would ask you, sir, to reach out to the school directly with that question and concern to have them clarify that. I know we've had a couple of questions similar to yours, and I think we've addressed them and made adjustments where needed. And we are encouraging students to leave when they can. So I think that something that the school would probably clarify for you if you're able to reach out to them directly. Why is white milk not an option for school lunch at Wilkins? I don't know that answer myself, so I will find out. And Lisa, if you could shoot me an email, I can include the right people and make sure I get an answer to you directly about that, because I don't know that answer and I would have assumed it was an option for our school lunch. So I don't know that myself. Sorry about that. Let's see. My newly minted AMS student was looking forward to instrument lessons. While no one is expecting band or chorus to occur, a survey was sent out in late August suggesting that small group lessons may be a possibility. However, nothing official on that has come across my inbox. Is there a final word on that? Man, I'm sorry to not know that answer either. If any of the AMS administrators are watching this and can shoot me an answer to that while we're speaking, that would be great. And I'll be glad to get that answer out to you. And Sarah, if you want to reach out to me as well via email, I can answer that question for you. Are there going to be after school clubs at AMS, such as an art club? The answer is not right now. We are investigating ways we can do that and do that safely. But the answer is not right now, and more to come on that. And I'll ask AMS when they send out an update for them to include that message there. By the way, all of our elementary buses are clear, so our weekend officially starts as administrators because all of our buses are clear. So just FYI for you as parents, we're all clear this afternoon. Those are all the questions I have so far in the Q&A. Nope, I knew that would encourage some more questions if I said that. Do the schools need the community to drop off more supplies, paper towels, sanitizers, anything? The answer is not right now, we don't. And this is going to sound odd, but in lots of ways, we don't want to accept things, especially sanitizers or cleaning agents, things like that, because we need to make sure that those any of those types of things that are chemicals are safe and are cleared for our students. So we don't need those things, and we seem to have plenty of them right now, as well as all of our paper supplies as well. So no to that, but thank you, Caitlin, for asking that. And then I'm getting a message here that the reason for the white milk is because water and chocolate milk are the most popular drink choices. So again, I'll find out more about that and get back to you. No surprise there that chocolate milk is more popular than white milk. I have a freshman and junior at Souhegan, neither of which have had any outdoor classes. Was that option changed? And I think this mom is asking why like the classes haven't spent time outside. So if I'm getting that right, let me know. So I don't know the answer to that. I would imagine that the teachers there just haven't made use of that so far. I will tell you, when I'm at Souhegan, I'm there just about every day. There are a lot of students outside at all times, which is good. That's a good sign, and I'm appreciative of that. So it sounds like that's just a luck of the draw for your kiddos, but I don't know the answer to that. And by the way, I'm saying I don't know a lot to some of these questions, which number one, a little embarrassing. I wish I knew the answer to all of these questions. But number two, I've spared so far our other administrators from joining these Friday afternoon calls. I am going to start inviting them in future weeks to be here so they can answer. But as you can imagine, their focus has been on the first few weeks of school, getting things up and running, and not other things. Any thoughts for a flu shot clinic? So I imagine you mean for our students to have a flu shot clinic in our school. That's the first I've thought of that. Honestly, not a bad idea. I do know that several walk-in clinics in the area provide free flu shots or easily accessible flu shots. But that is something I can look into and find out more about. Let me just make a note for myself on that. So flu shot clinics. Good idea. Will high school photo taking for remote students be held outdoors? How will social distancing be coordinated? Masks off for photos and photographer. Okay, another great question that I don't have the answer to. This is a problem. I wish I knew some of these answers. So I don't know the answer to that. It would make sense that those would be outside, but I just don't know, and we'll get back to you about that. There's a clinic on the calendar at the beginning of October that might be for faculty, may not be for students, Jennifer. So we do have faculty flu clinics that we have every year. But I'll find out if students are an option for that. I'm not sure any schools do that, but these are unprecedented times, and why not, right? Why not try something different? And back to the picture question, I know AMS did them outside, so I can't imagine Souhegan wouldn't, but I just don't want to tell you that and be wrong if that's the case. So again, those are all of the open questions. So I'll give another minute here for those of you watching and try to answer your questions for you. Nothing coming across. So only 16 minutes today. I guess that's easy when I don't know half the answers to the questions that you guys ask. But I will follow up with those things if you shoot me an email so I can get those answers over to you. Thank you all to our school community. This has been a great 5-day week. We're glad to have a 5-day week in the books, and more to come, and things are going well thus far. Another question popped up. Are you sending home a lot of kids with symptoms daily? No, we're not. We aren't. And I am tracking that data separately. We're not posting it, but it is not a lot. There have been some instances where some students have either come to school with symptoms or have developed those symptoms. But we're not sending a lot of those kids home, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of you as parents and our students for how they're doing. Someone else just asked about how our kids been doing wearing their masks. They're doing very well. I have to tell you, I'm very impressed from the kindergarten classes up through our high school students. They are doing the job that we've asked them to do. Are there issues? Absolutely they are. They are kids after all, but by and large, it's going better than I just my opinion, and I'm not in every classroom. I don't see everything, but in my opinion, our kids are doing even better than I would have expected. Social distancing is a little harder. That is difficult for kids of every age. Kindergarten and first grade students staying away from one another, we all know that that is a little bit of a foolish expectation, and we're doing the best we can. But if you think about it, middle school kids are not ones to keep their hands to themselves or stay away from one another, but they're doing very well and we're staying on top of it. High school kids do not want to stay far apart from one another by and large, but we are constantly reinforcing that message, um, and doing our best with social distancing. But we do have people in masks, and it does appear to be working so far. And we remain confident while there are very few cases in our communities. The state website today says still between 1 and 4 in the town of Amherst and none for Mount Vernon. And that's a very good thing for now, and we're staying on top of that. And just a reminder, again, our cutoff is about 6 o'clock tonight for the form. As I mentioned earlier, if you're making any adjustments for segment 3. And then a question about the weekly email from Clark Wilkins states that student pictures have been delayed until spring. I've not yet watched this video, but can you explain why, since this is usually done outdoors? I don't know. That's a decision for Anna, and I trust her judgment there. I'm sure there was a good reason for it. I just don't know what it is off the top of my head. So again, this is reinforcing I need to have my principals included in these conversations, especially with a live Q&A, so that they can answer more of these nitty-gritty questions. But I'm encouraged that some of these questions are so detailed, because that shows that we're getting back to turning the page from COVID and into a regular school year as much as possible. So I'm going to end it there. I thank you folks. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again next week, same format with a live Q&A. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Take care.